way somewhere in Podcastro Valleyton, the last place on earth. It's wonderful
Mike's Daily Podcast.
to be here again. Sometimes I go, how on earth can I do a show called
Mike's Daily Podcast?
When that's a lot of work to do something daily, that means every day. Like the newspapers once upon a time, back when, let's say Superman was working in print media. That doesn't exist anymore, I guess. But I would love to be the
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Superman flying around and
Mike's
saving
Daily
people.
Podcast.
I guess that's all I have.
Yeah!
On today's wonderful song for the Mike's Daily Podcast intro that we do every single podcast. How is that even possible? I don't know. But it's what we do. Mike Matthews here. Well, by now, if you're a Doctor Who fan, you have heard the big news. Very big news. And I'm about to tell you the big news, so if you don't want to hear the big news, then just go blah for the next 10 seconds. Ready? Jodie Whittaker's Doctor regenerated into Neil Tennant. That's right. So, in other words, going back to an older Doctor, but this is a new Doctor. I don't get it. Look at the old boss, same as the new boss. I mean, it's interesting because at the same time, you've got like Boris Johnson going back to become Prime Minister of England, even though he just left. Now he's back. Neil Tennant's back. Oops. I guess I did it outside of the window of you going, oh well. If you haven't heard it by now, you're just living under a rock. And I feel special because I got to tell you that news. But I have not watched the show. I don't know anything else. I know a lot of people came back like old.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Old doctors, old companions, all of that. I still have to watch it. What was funny was about 1 o'clock my time in England, the episode had just wrapped up because they air it on Sunday nights, and November 23rd is like the anniversary of when Doctor Who went on the air. Now, I don't think it did not begin in 1962. It was 63. If I'm horribly mistaken, then I'm horribly mistaken. The late, great Basil the Boxer, who is in today's podcast picture, by the way. This picture taken over in Benita at this beautiful little... I don't know if they have a name for this harbor here. This little bay. But it's such a beautiful spot. Oh, sometimes I wish I lived in Benicia. This is called Raymond J. Bordoni Public Access Beach. Raymond J. Bordoni. Who was Raymond J. Bordoni? He lived till 1991. He died at 81. Okay. It doesn't say any other information. Oh, he was a mayor? Oh, okay. There we go. Let's see. Raymond J. Bordoni will not seek a second term this fall. So he may have been a mayor. I don't know. Cafe, I don't know. But there you go. It seems like he was somebody at one time, and thus they've... But this is Cornell University. That's not in this area. Anyway, Raymond J. Bordoni. So, this public access beach is in honor of this Raymond J. Bordoni. Hey, maybe somebody listening might know who that is. And they can tell me at 336MM Daily. 3 plus 3 equals 6. MM is in Mike Matthews Daily isn't what this podcast is. So, that is the picture that you'll see at mikesdailypodcast.com. The last podcast picture for the show that was entitled Curious featured a very curious kitten by the name of Rocky. He is our new cat, Rocky the cat, Rocky the kitten. We still have Patches. Patches is outside mostly. Rocky stays inside. And they have not really formally met as of yet. But Patches is really chill right now on the whole thing. Rocky is the curious one. Thus the name of the last podcast was Curious. So I just would like to say, I'm glad the Chris Chibnall days are done of Doctor Who. I watched the first season with Jodie Whittaker. And after a couple episodes, it just seemed like the same thing. And there's just this sense of it being very... It was going a direction I didn't like. The fact that the Doctor has multiple regenerations now. But I heard some of that got changed. A word that is used often with Doctor Who fans is retcon. One of the shows that spun off of Doctor Who, Torchwood, what's his face? Captain Jack Harkness would, not Captain Jack Sparrow, that's Johnny Depp, which I just have this feeling that just looking at Johnny Depp these days, seeing pictures of him in his awful looking cigarettes that he smokes, I bet he has the worst breath on the planet. So the point, but that's just an observation. I may be completely wrong. Johnny Depp, I don't know. You might have the sweetest, beautiful, most Mentos-y breath on the planet. But the thing is that Captain Jack Harkness, who was friends and a companion once of the Doctor, he had this pill or something called the retcon pill that when people saw aliens or whatever, it was the equivalent of the Men in Black, the flash gun, the flash in the eye thing that would erase your brain memory stuff. As we go outside a cafe anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Alley. I got the sense, the last place on earth, that the people inside there were not big Doctor Who fans. And they just heard what I was saying was blah, 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 blah. But that's okay. Like I said, I did not, and I hate it when people say like I said, or again, or I just said it. Like, why are you telling me that you're deliberately repeating stuff that I just heard? Because that now you've just triggered in my brain it to turn off. Because what I'm about to hear is something that you just said. Which I just said. But I did watch the first season with the Jodie Whittaker Doctor. And some of those episodes were pretty good. Then I started... I couldn't watch it. The problem is here in America, you can't watch it anywhere. You got to get it, like... Somebody's got to download it for you. You got to go through sneaky ways to get Doctor Who. Or you're going to pay a lot for BBC America. Which I got the Acorn TV thing that I watch on Amazon. Oh, that's right. You can rent it on Amazon. But I'm cheap. I don't do that. So I did not get it all into and then I saw summaries and people just talking about everything, summing up everything that happened in the past season. And I heard all the stuff that happened with the new master and how they're saying now that the Doctor's got multiple regenerations, that she's been regenerating for years, and we don't have the core doctors like we used to. Like the first Doctor, the William Hartnell, and then the Patrick Monahan. No, wait, that's the lead singer of Train. And then the guy with the gray hair. Then Tom Baker. Then Peter Davidson. Then Colin Baker. Then Sylvester McCoy. Then Paul McGann, which I heard Paul McGann came back in last night's episode. That's interesting. Oh, spoilers. Oops. Which is something River Song says. And then you had the late John Hurd play the War Doctor, which basically was Paul McGann turned into that. And then the Doctor turned into Christopher Eccleston, then David Tennant, then Matt Smith, then Peter Capaldi, the uncle of Louis Capaldi, who's the big singer of the two big songs that you hear all the time on the radio. And then finally, Jodie Whittaker, who's turned now back into Neil Tennant, it appears. So we're going all over the place. It's like a game of hopscotch. Have you ever played hopscotch? which, by the way, Scotch is exactly what Mr. David Tennant, he's a Scotsman. So, what I'm saying to you now is that I can't do a Scottish accent here. But what I can do is tell you that this is the latest, and I have not watched. Now, here's the interesting thing. Ever since I heard the big news, I want to watch everything. From where I left off with Jodie Whittaker in the first season that she did to the present. I want to get caught up. Because I was like, I'm done with Doctor Who. I even was watching the fan Doctor Who stuff. Yes, there are fan films, fan-made Doctor Who shows where people, they create a TARDIS, they create their own storyline, and it's pretty good. Some of them, okay. But the problem is it's not canon and won't figure into anything else in the Doctor Who lore. Similar to with Marvel, like all that stuff they did on Netflix for that time in the 2010s, that didn't apply to, I think, except the Daredevil came back in the Spider-Man movie. But yeah, that all got blown out. So you're watching it going, this doesn't mean anything. This doesn't go anywhere. But that's not what I want you to feel about this podcast. This is what I'm just saying to you. This is all very important stuff. For example, Lauren Boebert, apparently she has had this comment that she's made calling women lesser vessels when it compared to men. And this was online. The anger, which it often is, comes from the online. The politician spoke with conservative comedian Brad Stein. Is that even a thing? Can that happen? Conservative comedians? That's just a contradiction. Comedy, you can't be conservative with comedy and actually be funny. You could in the 50s. That ship sailed somewhere in the 80s. People had to be edgy is to be funny. It's probably why I'm not really funny. I'm not. I know I'm not. But yeah, comedy can't be really conservative. But then who is that? Who is that to say that Mike Matthews saying that about comedy? Comedy cannot be defined except what makes you laugh. Anyway, conservative comedian Brad Stein said, Boebert said with Brad last Monday on the podcast that he does. He asked Boebert about her time in Congress, as well as numerous problems facing the U.S., such as inflation, energy independence, and social issues. But it was Lauren Boebert's comment about, isn't there a Louis Gohmert? Yes, Louis Gohmert. He's a fun fella. But it was Boebert's comment about women that raised eyebrows after the Republican called them lesser vessels. Before making her controversial comments, Boebert had been speaking about transgender participation in sports and gender identity. Oh, don't get me started. That is an issue, isn't it? You're not going to make friends no matter how you fall on this topic.
That's enough. Put down the mic.
She added, we are created equal. We're not the same. Women are the lesser vessel.
Right? Good.
And we need masculinity in our lives to balance that. That's so-called weakness, just as being more frail and needing that strength in our lives. Whoa. So, Twitter channel Patriot Takes, which claims to be dedicated to exposing right-wing extremism, shared Boebert's comments in a 15-second clip and has been viewed more than, almost 900,000 times since it was posted yesterday. Democrat House candidate Adam Frisch, who hopes to unseat Boebert in November, said, Representative Boebert is belittling the generations of women fighting for freedom to make their own life choices, whether that's prioritizing careers, families, service, or a combo. The philosophy of choice has raised my sisters and me and it's how my wife Katie and I are raising our daughters. Okay, so yeah, it's becoming a political issue. Former U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Alabama, Joyce Vance, posted, well then, she definitely doesn't belong in Congress, no matter how you take this. Blink 182 star Tom DeLonge was more direct in addressing Boebert, adding, this woman is a turd that's not nice. Is a turd vessel. It's been proven at CERN. Women are better than men in every way. Men, well, we are known for liking free salsa and chips. I guess anywhere you fall on this, it's bad. No, I think women are weak. No, I think women are strong. Listen, I was raised by my mom. One very strong person indeed. And that's how I feel about that. Speaking of which, my mom's not best friend, but a good friend of hers that used to have lunch with her in Florida. And so my mom, when I would go visit her in Florida, she'd get these emails, and because I would sometimes use her computer when I was in Florida, and I'd go, hey mom, your email's open. Hey, you got these funny emails from somebody named Winky. Oh yeah, my mom would say, she sends me funny stuff all the time. Well, sadly, my mom passed away this past February, and Winky still sends stuff to my mom. I have contacted Winky and told her the sad news about my mom, and Winky and I talk back and forth. So now Winky sends me emails, and they're very funny. There we were, renovating our home, when we knocked out a wall and made an incredible discovery. We found a secret room, completely furnished. That's when we remembered that we live in a duplex. No matter how old I am, if I see this, I'm going to pop the bubbles. Oh yeah, bubble wrap. My late great dog, Basil the Boxer, whom you heard barking earlier, he loved popping bubbles and bubble wrap. Oh, his favorite thing in the world. He loved that so much. So now whenever I see bubble wrap, I pop the little bubbles in honor of him. How to frighten the new generation. Put them in a room with a rotary phone, an analog watch, and a TV with no remote. Then leave directions on how to use in cursive. Ah, yes, because they don't do that anymore, do they? An older lady says, I bought an exercise bike. It holds all the rest of the laundry that doesn't fit on my treadmill. Thank you, Winky. Remember when we were young and couldn't wait to grow up so we could do whatever we wanted whenever we wanted? So how's that working out for you? And it shows a picture of a grown-up doing dishes in the kitchen. Oh, well, you just need to get yourself a dishwasher. All right, thank you. Thank you, Winky. Well, outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, 10, the last place on earth. Look who is here. Hello, Mike Matthews and Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. Wow, that was a lot of controversial stuff you were talking about earlier, Mike Matthews. Yeah, with Lauren Boebert and everything. Did you ever find out who Raymond J. Bordoni is? No, Mike Matthews, but he sounds like a nice guy. Yeah. Well, who knows? It seems like any park or any place that's named after any guy may or may be not be controversial, and that name may or may not be erased when certain news comes to light about that person, some history. Maybe that's why I can't find any information about James R. Bordoni, Raymond Bordoni, Raymond J. Bordoni, whatever. Look who else is here. Hello, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. Wow, Mike, that was all fascinating. What you said about Doctor Who. Yes. The days of Patrick Swayze, Patrick Monahan, Patrick Patrick Troughton. Thank you. Patrick Troughton. He was the second Doctor. All right. Yeah. At some point, I have to get... Oh, listen to this cool song. Here. This is a song I sing to you when I'm about to end the show. No, it's not over yet. We got to do one more thing and say hi to my past self, Mike Matthews, eons ago. Yes, we have a little segment called the Mike Matthews. Let's go back with... Wait, what's my name? Let's go back with Mike Matthews. Let's go back with Matthews. That's what we call it. Where we go back in time to that place that I worked at eons ago. That was a country station. And a lot of stuff you hear on the Santa Fe, on KH, on the Cafe Anyway show. Let me back up. A lot of stuff you hear on Mike's Daily Podcast here at Cafe Anyway was inspired by the Santa Fe Cafe that used to be on KH for 11 years. And lo and behold, the wonderful cloud where I save all this fun stuff finally opened as I was trying to explain all that. At any rate, Cafe Any Rate, I would go there to the Santa Fe Cafe, which was not a real place. But it was a show where we would take requests and people would call in and make these requests and all kinds of craziness would happen. In fact, let's go back all the way to, I guess this is the early 2000s. And this was at one time what yours truly sounded like. And let's see.
Oh my gosh, Sean Rader's in the room. What were you eating with Carl and Sling Blade?
He had French fried potato with mustard. I reckon they're pretty good.
Wow, you could have played both parts. The cafe is heard only on
KHAY.
Wow.
No.
Okay. She's got some good vocals.
No.
And it is almost 10:30. That means the country quiz.
Uh-oh. It's time for the quiz.
At 10:30 and 11:30, Monday through Friday, it's the KH Country Quiz. If you'd like to play the KH Country Quiz, call me now at 650-KH. We'll pick a contestant to play the KH Country Quiz in the shopping center. We'll have another chance to win tickets for that. 650-KHAY. We'll pick a contestant to play the KH Country Quiz.
By now, I'm sure you've heard about Bob Mallet.
Let's see. Here we go.
Our contestant is Shane from Ventura. Shane, let's look at the quiz wall and pick a topic from our three panels. Panel 1 says Keith Whitley's witty. Panel 2 says Andy Griggs' dandy digs. Panel 3 says Charlie Daniels knows Tony Randall.
First one?
Keith Whitley's witty. Shane, Keith Whitley crossed paths with who at a talent contest when he and this other person were both just 14 years old? Was it A, Vince Gill, B, Ricky Skaggs, or C, Brad Paisley?
C?
B, Ricky Skaggs?
No, C.
C, Brad Paisley?
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, Shane. Stay on the line, 650-KH. You can try and steal the prize from Shane, but if you get it wrong, he gets the prize.
Hi, it's Devin Led.
Heather from Oxnard going to try and steal the prize from Shane and Ventura. Heather, the choices were Vince Gill, Ricky Skaggs.
This is getting exciting.
Is it A?
Vince Gill?
Yes.
Oh, no. Actually, the answer was Ricky Skaggs. B. That means you get the prize by default, Shane from Ventura. Congratulations. Yes.
How do you spell country? Oh, KHAY. The best.
More news and traffic reports at any Ventura County radio station, 100.7 KHAY and Lone Star. Not a day goes by. Dixie Chicks ahead of that. Toby Keith coming up. The Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. Gary Allen and Jody Messina is next. The KH Cafe question. What was your worst Charlie Horse experience? Matthew, I want to tell you, sometimes when I am teaching dance lessons out on the dance floor, I sometimes get a Charlie horse, Matthew.
Okay.
It's crazy or not. So I'll be dancing, I'll be teaching somebody dance, and all of a sudden it will attack me. It's crazy or not. Wow, that would be bad, actually. That's right, Matthew, it would. Because sometimes I got one right now, Matthew. Oh! That's funny. You know, I like how you can act and show me things like you with a Charlie horse. No, Matt, seriously. I really have a bad Charlie horse. Oh, this is painful. Wow, you know, he could be a stuntman.
Do you have to fly a no-name airline?
That was violent. There, you see, a lot of action on the radio for that little bit that happened with Fernando Tony Lamas, the dance instructor at the KA Santa Fe Cafe years ago. Thank you, Billy Crystal, for coming out with that song eons ago. I'm probably going to get dinged by YouTube for playing so much of that. But yeah, that was probably 2001, 2002. The radio was pertinent back then. I heard an interview with the guy from Journey, the guitarist. Not Jonathan Cain. Neil Sean. Neil Sean, he was saying, yeah, you know, all we cared about, the guys in Journey, was getting a song on the radio. That's what we cared about the most. Nowadays, we could care less. That's very interesting. He's like, radio isn't what it was. In fact, Journey had an album called Raised on Radio. The thing is, it just is not what it was. And there's podcasting, and there's still a million radio stations, but they're basically, a skeleton crew is operating them wherever you go. There are internet radio stations galore. I love the word galore, don't you? No? Anyway, galore. So there's a bunch of that. There's a bunch of podcasts. There's people watching videos like never before because of YouTube. There are people doing their own apps where they're talking to people, where they basically, the content is them and they're not listening. There's nothing passive in the experience. There's very few passive experiences anymore. Well, there's a bunch of passive experiences, but people are engaging in the active ones, or watching people play video games. Maybe that's passive, but they're watching the people actively fighting and shooting up people, and it's gory and it's pretty violent, kind of like the show that I was just playing you from over 20 years ago. But that's not, because he had a Charlie horse and he fell through the window and his clothes ripped. That whole thing just happened. I don't know. What do you think? You can call me 656-KA. Oh, wait, that was the old phone number. 336-MM Daily. That's 3 plus 3 equals 6. MM is in Mike Matthews Daily, as in what this podcast tries to be. It has been for 2 days, but I got interrupted a bunch of days last week. One more bit of news before we go into the Mike Matthews New Tunes feud. Salman Rushdie, you remember he got the horrible injuries. Somebody tried to kill him. He was basically almost assassinated. He was delivering a lecture in New York back in August. He has lost eyesight in one of his eyes, and he has lost the use of one of his hands. His agent would not say if the author was still hospitalized. He did note that Rushdie is expected to survive the attack he sustained while preparing to deliver a lecture in New York in August. For years, there was basically a hit on him for years after he had been under a death sentence since 1989 for the book The Satanic Verses. Iran's Ayatollah Khomeini issued the death sentence, or the fatwa, saying the novel insulted Islam, and he offered a bounty of $3 million for its fulfillment of the death sentence. So he was attacked by this guy. Is he going to get that $3 million? I don't know. And is that $3 million in today's dollars or in 1989 dollars? But yes, so that bit of news today, sharing a little timely news with you here on Mike's Daily Podcast. But now, some timely music. A little fun, a little levity, which we like to specialize in here at Mike's Daily Podcast, and that is playing some music that is brand new to your ears. And people send this to me at Mike's Daily Podcast at gmail.com is my email. But here is something from someone named Adenyo, and it is called Good Time. And let's listen a little bit to it. Oh, wow, it's turning into a little steel drum there. Some very happy good time music. That's Adenyo and the song Good Time. Do you like that song? Because these two songs are duking it out. It's the Mike Matthews New Tunes Feud. So, do you like that song? Or do you like this song by the, what? Apacalda? Hi, Mike, Apacalda wrote. My self-titled debut EP was fully written and inspired by true events. I chose bold honesty, sharing details about experiences that have maybe hurt me, but also molded and shaped me. It is meant to simulate an inner downward spiral, enchanting the listener to descend into a hauntingly beautiful, immersive world that has been meticulously yet authentically curated. Ah, okay. Let's see. Here is a place to hear this particular song from Apacalda.
When you're back, only to walk into. Tall of a wall, too strong of a hide you. I wanna dive into your dark and dig up what you hide. Flickers from behind, I can't see you clearly.
I better stop there or I'll get dinged by YouTube. Apacalda, and that song's called SSR. So which one did you like better? Apacalda or Adenyo? Oh, two acts with the letter A. They're all in the A section of your record store. They probably haven't made any vinyl, so they won't be in a record store. Have you watched that thing, by the way, by Amoeba Music? They've got a YouTube channel, and they ask what's in your bag, and I watched the one with Garbage, Shirley Manson, and all the guys, and all the records they bought, and the DVDs. One of them was a big fan of Eraserhead. It's fascinating to me. People still go to record stores and buy stuff. That's fantastic. What an oddity. I hope if you do that, you should call me 336MM Daily. 3 + 3 = 6. MM as in Mike Matthews. Daily as in what this podcast is. And you should tell me which one you like better, Adenyo or Apacalda. And if you do call in and tell me which one you like better, or text me, you can also text me at that number, 336MM Daily. If I get enough votes, I will actually contact that artist and let them know, hey, release it on vinyl because you've got fans on Mike's Daily Podcast. And with more ways to reach me, it is A. Frank.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.
You have just listened to episode 2510. To hear all the other past podcasts, that's a lot. You sure you want to do that? Just go to mikesdailypodcast.com.